I gotta give you your dream shot. I'm gonna send you up against the best. You two characters are going to Top Gun.
Today, Su-47 will get way too real, and also will attempt to design a solution to adapt Su-47 for the life of a naval aviator. Top Gun is the only movie where an American fighter jet is painted black and disguised as not explicitly Russian fighter jet, and definitely not with a sprinkle of implication. And I am thinking that perhaps the demon himself could show him how it's done. Your new all-time favorite, Su-47, has come a long way, and despite the Russian roots and the war and my terrible voiceovers, I hope this series has shed some light on the rather unfortunate and ill-fated history of this jet. Yet the legacy, I believe, still can be restored despite Su-47 being the only of its kind and not having many peers. If we want to become naval aviators, we need an aircraft carrier. American aircraft carriers are well known, and let us not forget that the American Navy is the largest navy in the entire world, and with a supercarrier under its cowboy belt, it could be a solid choice. But let us not forget the Russian Navy. I cannot expand the picture further, that's it. It's only this one, the only aircraft carrier of Russian Navy. While American Navy can be the greatest threat to any navy, the Russian Navy's greatest threat is the Russian Navy itself. From the tales of Japanese torpedo boats in Europe,
enemy spotted,
to one-way submarines, to poisoning England with the smokiest boating trip, with your own aircraft carrier, Russian Navy has got you covered. And while the only way to expand Russian Navy might be with a Photoshop, we in the end only need one ship. So it's settled. Now we may not be able to pat ourselves on the back yet, since, well, there is no tailhook. I suppose we will have to try to design one ourselves. But before you do that, let's look into virtual reality. Now you might know the saying,
"Will you come to the mountain, Mohammed?"
no way, dude. Oh my god.
The saying may have been tweaked. Nonetheless, if Su-47 and its full potential cannot be found in our reality, then we have to visit his. Recently, I have thought about virtual reality and found out that it's no longer the inconvenient technology that I used to know when I visited with a friend a long time ago one of those places where you get to try the VR with all the room and no small objects to trip over. It turns out you don't even need a computer. Thus I decided to check out what's on offer, and after some looking into it, I narrowed down my search to two headsets, the Meta Quest 2 and the Meta Quest 3. Here comes the 14th greatest dilemma on this channel. Headsets are basically like little computers, and Quest 3 has a better processor, RAM and display, and lenses. But it is more expensive than Quest 2. I wanted to originally go with the Quest 3 and find one for a good price, but then I discovered resold Quest 2 for less than €200. And I even managed to haggle the price down to €187, so it was a great question. So I decided to go with the Quest 2 after a lot of pondering. In the end, at least I can say that I got into VR in under €200. For €187, I will now enter virtual reality. Well, not after we build the tailhook for Mr. 47. I tried designing one in Blender, but the result was questionable at best and memeable at worst. So since I did not have a license for Inventor on my PC, I turned to next best thing, Fusion 360, aka Confusion 360 degrees. Good old parametric 3D modeling, the place where it's either 10 or 15mm, not 14.989999988. It is time to engineer our way out of this need for sudden loss of speed with ingenuity. Fusion were considerably better for me. And the final result is within acceptable, so I spray painted the markings with red to add a sense of we mean business. Yes, it might be more inspired by American tailhooks rather than Russian ones, but since the one on Su-43, the average occupant of the Russian aircraft carrier, is a bit chunky, and we are looking for a discreet tailhook, it is sort of settled. Nonetheless, we better get on better terms with the Su-43, since it does stick around the carrier. Talking of the opposite of sticking around, our first aircraft carrier takeoff did not go all that well. In fact, the Su-47 sort of tried to take off on its own while I was walking around my room pondering about solutions to the problems of the past. While the Su-47 slowly starts rolling,
Oh no!
luckily at the last moment, we just graze the water and make it out. Considering our history with our first attempts, I think this is while not solid result, is at least somewhere between liquidus and solidus. Then I created a separate tail door for the Su-47, so I installed the tailhook and it looks pretty decent. Then I added a little wiggle to make it look more realistic and closer to reality. Speaking of reality, let's dive into the virtual one. The tailhook seems fine, so let's test it out in real action and merge these two arcs into one. Well, that is great. The tail elevators could use a little work on reflections, and, well, a successful landing. Definitely one we could walk away from. So I also already developed my own external power supply to be able to spend even more time with Mr. 47. We got a small boys powerhouse with the Su-47 symbol, and the big boys, 20,000 mAh, King Boys the 6th, coming in with 2 Su-47s. So this is the Russian carrier. Anybody home? Well, the captain has probably gone insane. Nonetheless, this is it. I may try to implement Su-47 to US Navy carriers with catapults. But that may be a difficult one to drive home. From now on, I'm not working on Su-47 alone, and the future looks bright. That does not mean that I will not post any videos of Su-47 anymore, but this is the end of the pilot trilogy, if you will, into the fighter jet, whose legacy has been hanging by a thread. But now, thanks to all your support, I feel that there is future, and it may be bright. Nonetheless, now the Su-47, while not perfect, is in a solid state. And it is time it joins the others, and yes, there may not be other 47s flying around, but in the end, it is a Sukhoi. Thanks for watching.